So they all went to Northgate, but my children went to San
I'd like to call to order the school board meeting, Mount Diablo Unified School District Annual Board Meeting of November 18th, 2019. And we will start with roll call. Mr. Lawrence.
Here.
Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Mayo.
Here.
Ms. Cowan.
Here.
And Mr. Key is here. We will start with public comment. 2.1, public comment. The public may address the board concerning items that are scheduled for discussion during closed session only. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. And so if any of you have not participated in this before, we always like to also share that the board is governed by what's called the Brown Act. And so when we are, our job when there's public comment is to listen. And we're not allowed to respond. We might ask a clarifying question, and we might also refer the speaker to the superintendent for some follow-up. But we don't want people to be offended if you're asking questions or looking for a response from us and you're not getting it. It's not personal, it's just we're not allowed to do that. So again, our job is to listen to you. So we will start with Hannah Carter. And I'm sorry, the little, Handy Cannon knows this, but the little lights on the dais here at the podium are like stoplights. So you get green, and then you get yellow, and then when your time is up, it'll turn red. So keep an eye on that as well. So, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Is this good? I don't know if it's picking me up. It is. Does it need to
Closer.
come closer? Okay. Yeah, maybe. All right, thank you. I think I'm starting now. Just really appreciate the chance, Dr. Martinez, members of the board, to come before you once again in support of Mr. Douglas Scott as a teacher in the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Last time when I was here, we started reading some of the comments from the now 370 petition comments reflecting the voice of the community. I can't stress that enough. These are individual comments that speak from the heart and from an experience, a shared experience of excellence in this man's classroom. So Kimberly said, Mr. Scott taught biology at College Park to 3 of my 4 children. The passion he brings to teaching biology is unparalleled. He should be reinstated. Passion like that, unfortunately, is quite rare in teaching. I'm going to skip the next one. This is written by a kid. This next one is Connor's comment. He says, you don't stay for 28 years if you suck. Pardon the expression. Mr. Alvarez, well, anyway, he had a comment that wasn't too pleasant. I'm going to just skip this one. Mr. Scott taught my daughter at College Park. I was very impressed by his teaching and how he engaged his students to want to know more. Another one. Jane says, Doug Scott was my biology teacher 20 years ago. He was brilliant at engaging students, and his lessons have remained with me for 20 years. He is one of the few teachers who is so obviously passionate and driven to make a change in his students, and not just teach them, but help them understand. Doug Scott is a remarkable teacher, and he should be reinstated at College Park. It would be a great disservice to your current students and future students to lose such a passionate and dedicated teacher. Kathleen says, my son attended 2009 to 2013. Mr. Scott was one of his favorite teachers. He found him inspirational, authentic, and was shocked that he was fired. Allison, this is a very long one. I don't think I'm going to get through it, so I'm going to skip this one. Christina says, my grandson attended College Park for all 4 years of high school and had Mr. Scott as a teacher. He says he's an incredible teacher and that all the kids love him. This seems to be a rarity these days. Politics shouldn't play any part in hiring or firing. Please continue his employment at College Park. Parent of former students, no name. Mr. Scott is a remarkable teacher. He made science fun and interesting for both my kids. What a huge mistake College Park would make if they let this gem of an educator go. Dominic says, I had him first year at College Park. He was one of my best teachers. My time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Darray Matthews?
Darcy.
Oh, Darcy, that's a C, sorry. Should know that by now, sorry.
Okay, hi, this isn't working, I guess, huh? Good evening, and here we are again on the Mr. Scott, I don't even know what to call it at this point. It's a very emotional thing. My daughter was here with her boyfriend when we were here last. You know, kids are back in college, they can't be here, but let me tell you, they are here in spirit. Very much Mr. Scott is in their hearts, and I don't know how many emails you're going to get from San Diego to Cal Poly, but I see this. I have been that person on this agenda. I have been the family in closed session. I've known Linda for a long time. Linda's had to do a lot and debate my family, and we ended up in court. And I will tell you, I prevailed. I prevailed as we were known, the Little Housewives of Pleasant Hill. We didn't do anything wrong. I believe Mr. Scott has done nothing wrong but be himself, to be a human, to be a teacher. And I know this is probably boring and redundant for you guys, and no, the chambers aren't packed. But no, there are kids right now in college because of Mr. Scott. And this petition and these words are heartfelt. And being that agenda item is not a good place to be. And Mr. Scott doesn't deserve that. And you need to know he's across the street and he's a good person. You need to bring him back. Those kids in his class are missing out on a different way of learning. Not everybody learns cookie cutter, dry, boring slides by the book. I went to Pleasant Hill High, and let me tell you, there was a teacher that taught government, and I was a senior. It was the boringest thing I have ever endured. And we have all reunited and had a great reunion and had fun, and we meet every month. And guess what? People are now talking about their teachers. And when I saw his name come up the other day, I remember thinking, oh, God, he was so dry, he was so boring. He did not rope me in. Mr. Scott ropes people in. That small percentage of people who don't learn like most people learn are learning, and they're learning more, and they're going farther. You saw the girl who went on to become a lawyer. You saw those people. And when you go into your closed session, maybe you need to think, maybe we, as a board, as a group, need to learn and think another way, and we need to bring Mr. Scott back. He is more than a name on a piece of paper, a closed agenda item. He is a human being who's given you 28 years. He probably hasn't even used his vacation and sick leave because he's that kind of guy. And I want you to think about that. When you look at teachers and you look at contracts and you look who you hire now, this new generation, because God forbid I have 3 of them, they don't put their heart and soul in it. Well, one of my kids does, but they just don't. It's when is my vacation? When is my sick leave? You know, when can I go to Mexico? When is spring break? Mr. Scott isn't that guy. He is there through thick and thin, through wet, through dry, on his motorcycle with his crutches. The man is there for you. And you, in exchange for that, need to do the right thing and bring his job back. Get him back. When January comes, that man should be in his place. And you
very
guys
much.
know. Thank you.
Martin Epperly?
I actually have my own bullet.
Tiny print.
It's supposed to light up when we're supposed to go?
Yeah, it will, yeah.
Okay.
As soon as you start talking, go.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate you guys listening, paying attention, and it's all time out of everybody's night to be here. Appreciate that. First off, my name is Martin Epperly. I attended College Park from 2004 to 2008. By no means was I an example student. I did not have good grades, didn't really take school very seriously, didn't see much of a point to going to school other than I was told to. Most of my assignments, classwork, I was more of a disruption than a contribution to anything in high school. I can reflect on that now and admit it quite openly. A lot of this was a part of my upbringing. I had no support, no guidance at home, and that just doesn't give you any motivation to do anything at school. Nobody at home cares, why should you care? Two things at my time at College Park were actually able to shake me from this path. One of them was going to a glass class with Mr. Ellenwood. That helped me realize that I wanted to do something with my hands. You know, sitting down at a desk and doing stuff like that it wasn't for me. And I couldn't bear sitting behind a desk now. I don't know how anybody does it. How you guys are doing it now? Beyond me. Bless your hearts. The second thing was with Mr. Scott in Earth Science. In that class, it actually opened up my appreciation for the world around me. Helped me realize more about nature and the importance of everything that goes on around us, not just interpersonally, but the importance of the environment, how everything works. And I'm able now to share that with my 8-year-old daughter, who is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and loving everything that I'm able to now pass down from my education and what I took from that class. To this day, 11 years later, people who don't even know Doug, I like to call him Doug because he is a person. He's not just an educator, he is a person. People who don't know him have heard stories from my class time with him. And they feel like they know him too. And the times that I'll run into him in Martinez, they go, "Oh, this is the guy. All right. Connect paths." Like I mentioned, I have an 8-year-old daughter who's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, absolutely loves school. And all that I could hope for her is that she gets at least one educator like Doug Scott, because he is devoted, passionate, and comes to every class with a warm spirit that lights you up and motivates you to actually be a part of that class. That actually, almost done, last my sentence, that will stick in her memories and ignite her passion to move forward with her life and do something with it. That's all that I want for her, to find somebody like Doug Scott. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Daniel Higgins.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't quite prepared to speak today in front of anyone. I just wanted to show my support for Mr. Scott. But as far as I'm aware, when I had him in biology and earth science, he was a caring, passionate teacher, a role model for students and myself. And after even 11 years, I can still remember his classes, how much I enjoyed it, how much I learned. And I can't say that in that 11 years, whether I was in the Marine Corps or whether I was working insurance or now that I'm in the Army, I haven't met too many leaders, too many NCOs, too many teachers who can affect you in the way that someone that Mr. Scott can. I'm here on holiday leave prior to going on deployment, and this is worth my time to be here and show my support for a kind of teacher as Mr. Scott. So while I have read some of these things and agree wholeheartedly with these other people, these aren't my experiences. So I'd just like to say that if you lose an educator like Mr. Scott, you're doing a disservice to these students and the overall community of Contra Costa County. Thank you. My name is Sergeant Higgins, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Don Kosmakos.
Take off my glasses so I can read. Hi, my name is Dawn Kosmakos, and I'm a College Park parent as well as a longtime friend to Doug Scott. I'm here to support him and ask that he have a fair hearing regarding his teaching position. I've known Doug for 21 years, and I've found him to be one of the most warm and kind people I've ever known. I can't speak to specific accusations, I wasn't there, but I can say that I've heard, being a parent there and being on PTA, I've heard a lot of parents say positive things about him. Most people, their children like to be in his class from what I gathered. I would have been happy to have my children in this class, and my older son specifically requested him and did not get him. I've heard of many situations where I felt Doug was treated unfairly. I've heard these from Doug. I was one of the people he would call personally when he felt like he didn't know what to do. One time when they threw his chair, all the stuff out of his classroom and put his chairs in the trash compactors, I donated a couple of those chairs. And I just felt like it was an unreasonable response to whatever they were upset about. Maybe they were upset because he didn't clean his classroom fast enough. But to get rid of something that was still useful was not fair, in my opinion. I also once reached out on Doug's behalf to administration when he came over to my house crying because his nephew, his baby nephew, had just passed away, and they had asked him to clean his room again, and he didn't know what to do. He was just he didn't know what to do, and he asked if I could help, and so I wrote an email and said, can he please have some more days? I got a response back after the fact when they told me it was already taken care of. And I even offered to clean the room for him. You know, I said, can I come down and get his stuff so that it's safe? I realized Doug doesn't fit into a particular mold. He marches to a beat of his own drummer. He's often misunderstood. But I know that he certainly loves teaching, and he's passionate about science and biology. And many students do love him. My children have known Doug their whole life, and they have known that every day is Earth Day since before they ever stepped into high school. Unfortunately, neither one of them was lucky enough to have him for a teacher. So all I'm asking is just to give him a fair chance, give him a fair hearing, let him be heard, let him address some of the issues that he's being accused of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen Abrams?
Good evening, Dr. Martinez and board members. Oh, is this working? I appreciate you taking the time to hear us tonight. My mother, Janet Abrams, and my daughter, who went to College Park, would both have been here if they could, and they want to express their support for Doug also. I'm sure you're proud that in this district you've got a very diverse district and a diverse group of teachers in particular, which I'm sure you support. And you've got all races and creeds of all types, and the truth is, Doug falls into that category. He's just a little eccentric. He's not necessarily bad for the kids in any way. He's basically, when you deal with the volumes of people that Doug's dealt with over 28 years, talking parents, teachers, administrators, you know, when you're eccentric, sometimes you rub people the wrong way. You know, I guess you can't get along perfectly with thousands of people. Sometimes, you know, things can happen. And so I would say that it would be wrong to get rid of Doug because maybe some people don't like him, because I can assure you there's some kids that relate to Doug, and someone like Doug maybe more so than they would other types of teachers. Maybe there's kids that are going to be denied, you know, really a better teaching experience with someone they can relate to like Doug. And maybe a few other kids have to put up with a teacher they prefer not to. But that's the same thing with, you know, some kids don't want to put up with teachers from other cultures and things like that. You need to understand, I hope, that you need this diversity, and a little eccentricity in a teacher is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, in this case, I do believe Doug understands the seriousness of this situation, and he will be responsive to your concerns and the concerns that have been raised. Obviously, you know, his life is on the line here now. So I hope you can find it in your hearts to find that these accusations against Doug, they really don't warrant dismissal. They maybe warrant discipline, and you should work with him to keep a teacher who's been here for 28 years and obviously has so much support from so many children, including my own. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Forrest McMillan?
did not have Doug Scott as a teacher, but I did go to College Park, and I know that teachers like Doug Scott are very important and really can inspire students to go on and do great things. I guess I'll read a few of these. Doug Scott this is from Sariana. I don't know if this is already read. Doug Scott is the reason I got through high school. He was open, honest, real, and motivating at every step. It is because of him that I had the confidence to go to college and continue to law school. Did you already hear this? I became an adjunct professor at Santa Clara University School of Law because I wanted to be for the students what he was for me. Taking this man out of the classroom is doing a disservice to every student he could teach. Patty says College Park. Kimberly says Mr. Scott taught biology at College Park for 3 of my 4 children. Passion he brings to teaching biology is unparalleled. He should be reinstated. Passion like that is unfortunately quite rare in teaching. Sorry, Olivia said, I am a previous student of Mr. Scott. I'm a junior at College Park, and Mr. Scott was my freshman year biology teacher. I heard about his credential being taken away forever. I would just like to bring to your attention how I feel about Mr. Scott. Every day at lunch with my friends, I would always start the conversation off with all the interesting things I learned in Mr. Scott's class that day. If Mr. Scott left teaching, College Park would never be the same. Mr. Scott is the best teacher I've ever had, and I'm sure many can agree with me when I say he's the only teacher that I've actually noticed to have so much passion in what he teaches. He has worked so hard to get where he is now, and he has worked at CP for a very long time now. Before I had him, I had no idea what I was interested in or what college I wanted to go to. But throughout the year, being in his class, I realized how much I love the earth I live on and how much I want to help the environment. He always told us how much he loved Humboldt University and talked so highly of it. It was a very long one. But you can see that he had a very big impact on a lot of students. And last thing I'll say is that I took environmental studies at College Park, and it is what inspired me to major in environmental studies at college. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Tom Jones?
One last? Nobody? Yes. Nobody? Tom Jones, Lucky Pussycat? Nobody?
We're hitting
Anybody?
our 30-minute limit as well.
Everybody?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to finish up with these board members. All the comments about Doug Scott. Doug Scott is a friend of mine since 1980. He texts me. Let's give you a good doctor. So he never would text me because that's the kind of guy Doug is. Hello? Okay, here we go. So, thank you for your time. Thanks everybody for talking about Doug. He actually texted me. I'm sorry, I thought I came there with a bunch of people. I thought this was over. I didn't know what was going on at the time. Apparently I didn't pay attention. There's no surprise with that. Okay, so board members, friends for the 80s. Doug was the same guy in 1981. So I just wanted to explain a character reference for Doug. 90s, 2000, 2010, next month to 2020. Every day is Earth Day because of what Doug said to me in 1981. So it's not, his uniqueness is different because Doug is a true, what you see is what you get. And I know he doesn't fit into the cookie cutter mold of a teacher, but he's been doing it for 28 years, and I figured he was doing something right. There's tons of pages for you guys to read. I don't have 2 more minutes to talk about Doug. I can go on and on and on, but I just want him to have a fair hearing. He texts me personally, which is not something Doug would normally do, to come out and say something in regards to it. He wanted me to read and stuff, but I mean, you guys get it. I mean, everyone gets it. So I hope he has a fair hearing. I hope that, I don't know what the accusations were, and I don't know what they are, but I can tell you at this point, if there is an opportunity for him to make it up and continue teaching, he really would love to do that. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we actually have one more card, and we're up against our 30-minute limit, so this will be the last one. So Matthew Putton, come on down.
Hi, I'm not entirely sure how this works. This is my first thing.
You have 3 minutes to talk. The timer will start once you start talking. You may want to pick up the microphone if you want, and the little lights on the top of the thing will tell you when your time is up. Okay, so it's just your time to share what you want to share.
Thank you. I'm here because a few days ago, I was contacted by Doug Scott. He was asking for help because I, like many more of his students, we really loved him, and it seemed like he was in a bit of trouble here. It's been almost 7 years since he taught me, and I still remember so many of his lessons. He was a really passionate teacher, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, for all of his lessons that he taught us outside. From what I remember, he made all of his tests by hand because he wanted his students to know the most and to get the most out of each lesson, and to make sure they understood what he was teaching. He was my freshman year biology teacher back in, what was that, 2013, 2012? Yes, 2012 to 2013. And I had heard there were a lot of messages from his students that he would like to be asked, or he asked us to read, but I'm a bit late. I didn't actually get the memo on that. But my memory isn't that great, my recall isn't that great, but I do remember a lot of his lessons, and it's been quite a few years. I remember him teaching us about viruses and how passionate he was about the research that was going on at the time that included them. I remember him teaching us about fungi and having us go out. He trusted us with some rather sensitive equipment that we could have broken easily, but he made sure we were safe, and he made sure that we were able to get as much as we could from the lesson he was teaching us at that time. I just wanted to come here and give my 2 cents because Doug Scott was a great teacher, and he deserves to keep teaching for as long as he can. He was a great man.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, thank you for all your comments, and that closes our public comment agenda, and we're going to go into closed session. So I'm going to share the items that we have on our closed session agenda. So 3.1, item number 1, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1. We have 3 cases. 3.2, item number 2 is anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B. 3 cases. 1 case is conference with legal counsel, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9, Mount Airy Unified School District versus Clayton Valley Charter High School et al. Contra Costa Superior Court, case number MSC 15-00574, and joined cases. 3.3 is item number 3, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to EERA Government Code Section 3549.1. Agency negotiators, Dr. Robert Martinez, Lisa Murphy Oates, and Roy Combs. Agencies, MDEA, DMA, MDSPA, CSCA, CST Local 1, and Teamsters Local 856. 3.4 is item number 4, expulsion of student number 03-20 from all regular schools in Mount Airy Unified School Districts. And 3.5, item number 5, expulsion of student number 04-20 from all regular students in the Mount Airy Unified School District. And we are now adjourned to closed session.